homework unless someone came in. Reagan heard Edith coughing on the other end and gave in. "Oh, all right, I'll do it." She hung up and stared out at the empty diner. 9 o'clock Wednesday night, she thought. No one else was coming in, not this late, not with the fog. She might as well go home. Even the owner, grumpy old Cass, had left her to lock up. All Reagan had to do was wipe off the counters, put the frozen dough in the refrigerator, and turn off the lights. And, she frowned at the phone, pack takeout for the local serial killer. She crossed to the kitchen, hoping someone would come in to delay her mission, but the bell over the door hadn't sounded in a half hour. She made 2 ham sandwiches and spooned up a quart of chili while reminding herself that Harmony was a safe town. Nothing bad ever happened here. Walking across the gully out back was no different than walking around her uncle's orchard. Trees are trees. After placing the food in a brown bag, Reagan tossed in crackers and a plastic spoon. Hesitating, she considered whether murderers needed napkins. On impulse, she added a bag of Cass's homemade oatmeal raisin cookies. Maybe she'd sweeten him up just enough so that Gabriel Leary wouldn't slit her throat tonight. "This is ridiculous," she muttered as she headed toward the back. "Why can't the weirdo come in the front door like everyone else?" The kids at school told stories about driving along Timberline Road and seeing Gabriel walking over his rocky land, stabbing at the dirt like he was practicing killing. At 5'3", Reagan figured he wouldn't need much practice to murder her. She wasn't really worried about herself. She had danced near death several times while growing up, moving from foster home to foster home in neighborhoods where even rats fought to survive. But she didn't want to die and leave the old man who'd taken her in as family. Uncle Jeremiah Truman needed her. Even tonight, he'd be waiting up for her until he knew she was home safe. Reagan tried to keep her grab on the takeout bag from tightening. As soon as she delivered it, she could lock up and head home. She shoved open the back door and stepped into the cold night. "I'm tougher than I look," she whispered to herself. Halfway to the dumpster, she decided this alley would be perfect for a crime scene. Dark, freezing night, dumb 17-year-old girl walking out alone, nutcase hiding somewhere in the shadows waiting for his supper. All she needed was a vampire, and she'd be starring in a hit. As she reached the edge of the dull back door light, she thought she heard movement to her left. Fighting down a scream, she told herself it was only one of the alley cats looking for scraps. Problem was, herself didn't seem to be listening. Focusing on the trees across the dry gully, she measured her steps, testing solid ground before rushing across the scar in the earth to the scattering of old cottonwoods beyond. Once there, she froze, unwilling to step where shadows crossed. A rustling whispered in the trees as her eyes adjusted to the night. A man stood up slowly from where he'd been huddling out of the wind. Tall, bone-lean, and dressed in black. Reagan gulped down panic. "I brought your takeout meal." He took one step toward her and reached for the bag. "Thanks." His whisper seemed to circle in the wind, more shy than menacing. She didn't miss the holes in the fingers of his gloves or the patch on his sleeve. Reaching into his pocket with his free hand, he pulled out 2 wrinkled dollar bills. "No," Reagan said. "That's all right." She turned away. "I can pay," he answered. "I always pay." She looked back, planning to say that payment wasn't necessary, and then she saw his eyes.